There's a wise ancient saying that says, your new life will cost you your old one. Today I wrote something that I want to use as an introduction for today's message, and then we'll go deep into the topic. I wrote, you're on the edge of the old, standing just before the first page of the new. You can smell it, feel it, and taste it, but you can't see it yet. So follow the scent, the sensation, and the taste of it. Let them guide you to where your mind cannot see. Do not be fooled by your mind at this point. So many of us may find ourselves right now in a place where we can feel something big is happening, but we can't see it yet. So will we follow the feeling, or will we follow the sight? Will we follow what we see? You see, we are being bombarded with news and media and everything. You know, all these stories, everything that's going on right now, everything that's falling apart, the world of celebrities and all of that, right? The story of Aditi and all of that. Things are just, you know, slowly coming to the surface and slowly falling apart. But all beneath that, there's a sense that is taking you somewhere. If you would listen to it, you would experience such an incredible reward for doing it. You would get into a flow state. You would recognize incredible capacity of creativity that you have. You would recognize ideas that are finding you. You would recognize you have been placed here at this point to accomplish something, to create something, to do something, and suddenly you will feel more useful. You will feel more incredible. You will feel more valuable. You will notice like something speaks through you. And at this point, everything depends, like, what are you feeding? Are you still feeding your mind with garbage, or are you actually feeding your life with new experiences? There's another quote that says, the information you consume becomes the soil for the thoughts of your tomorrow. So what we sooner or later notice, that everything that has nothing to do with our path eventually becomes a distraction. And if we don't remove the distraction, eventually distraction becomes our only familiar thing. So suddenly we become less organized, we become less motivated, we become less inspired, we become less active, less productive, less happier. And suddenly we feel like it's our nature to feel this way. Like people say, I don't feel driven, I don't feel motivated, I don't feel organized. It's not that you don't feel it. It's that your distractions have pulled you away from feeling. So you're not in sensing anymore. Now you're in consuming. And what you consume consumes you. So suddenly you can lose yourself in what you're constantly observing. And if what you're observing has nothing to do with your path, then, well, you've lost yourself, right? That's why so many people right now are feeling lost and feeling disorganized and feeling disconnected and feeling like a bunch of chaos. And then you may come across some spiritual things and you say, oh, this positivity or whatever. It doesn't work. Or you try to meditate and you recognize as soon as you close your eyes, there's a bunch of stuff happening. Of course, all of that is still present. You haven't taken care of it. So one thing that I've learned in my life that truly changed everything was that I just don't need to focus on what's going on I just don't need to. I can spend all day long creating, doing stuff, maybe helping others, taking care of myself. Even when I had my last job, in my free time I was reading books, I was meditating, I was working out. So then when I was at my job, I was serving. And back at that time I had no idea that I'm actually training myself for what I'm doing today. So I can serve, so I can create, so I can produce art, so I can do all the things I feel called to do. You can't do that if your mind is obsessed by what's going on in the world. You see, there's no disconnection between external world and inner world. As much as there's distraction within you, there's distraction without you. So it's like building a muscle that helps us sometimes to pull our own personality on this side to recognize what's beneath it. Right? So we don't just live in this personality that's created out of habits and patterns and conditioning. We recognize there's something beyond personality. It's something deeper. It's something wiser. It's something that's pure as a breath. Right? You can't connect with it if you live in your mind, if you live in what's happening. You can only connect with it if you truly learn to kind of distance yourself from yourself here and there, to go deeper into yourself and notice that, okay, yeah, something is going on inside of you. There are thoughts, there's stress, there's, I don't know, fear, anxiety, whatever. But beneath that, there's like passion of Christ, right? There's a drive for creation. There's an inspiration to do the work. There's knowing that you can do something, you can create something out of nothing. There's knowing that if you would use your mind correctly, and correctly I mean use it as a tool for creating, which means thinking constructively and creatively about what you're seeing. So if there's something you don't want at what you're looking at, it means you can change it by working on a solution. And sometimes we don't know what solution is. So it means we need to sit down and think clearly about how much we are wasting our time, because each time wasted is not invested, right? If we stop wasting time, we recognize there's so much we could invest into a potential solution. Like, I could do nothing or I could create art. I could do nothing or I could make videos. I could do nothing or I could help you. But when I say I could do nothing, it's not that I'm doing nothing, it's that I'm distracting myself or scrolling on phone or whatever. And I'm talking about this because so many times I get these messages like, how are you treating this kind of experiences? Like when you get pulled to with this temptation to look at what's happening there, but at the same time, you actually want to do something more constructive. It's just becoming aware of your impulses and noticing that you don't need to be its prey. You don't need to be a prey of your impulses. Your impulses are the product of conditioning. And conditioning, well, if you break it down, you recognize it's just one accepted thought after another. One accepted belief after another. And then it led you to one accepted choice to another. You've started choosing to follow their advice. You've started choosing to adapting their beliefs. You've started choosing to believing that how you feel is the only reality about yourself. And when you adapt to other belief systems, other choices and other emotions, it becomes your personality. And if you believe that how you are right now is the only way you can be, then you will never believe into a possibility to change, right? And if you don't believe into a possibility to change, you will stay where you are. But we never just stay where we are. Life is a constant motion, so we keep upgrading or we keep downgrading. We keep evolving or we keep dissolving. We keep growing or we keep kind of falling apart. That's the constant flow of life. So it's only a question, what are we feeding? Are we feeding growth? Are we feeding evolution? Are we feeding process that is making us more clear, more at peace, more grateful, more passionate, more kind, more productive, more whatever? Or are we just consuming stuff and therefore feeling more chaotic and more stressed and more anxious and all of that, right? It's again a choice. And if life is truly a product of tiny little choices we make on moment by moment basis, then the question becomes again like, what am I choosing today? And if we go deeper into a soul level, you've chosen this experience. You've chosen what you're moving through. You've chosen all these events because they kind of trigger certain emotional sensations within you that you wanted to experience. Why? Because there was a lack of mechanism how to treat these emotions, how to train your body as an animal to respond to these events that trigger you a certain way more wisely. And therefore you came here to learn this, to learn to become more skillful with using your body. You know, on a higher soul level, your body is seen as a technology, as a vessel, as a vehicle you should be in control of. But most people are still living in this animalistic consciousness where we're victims of our senses, victims of all these chemical sensations that are happening within us. Not really understanding that we are actually in control of it. When science started researching the power of the mind and epigenetics and the understanding of DNA and all of that, they found out that actually when a person changes his attitude, his body starts producing a whole new chemistry. His nervous system becomes like a pharmacy of chemistry that has a healing effect if the attitude is positive. If we do it for a long time, our body starts healing itself. And when they've been researching the DNA, what's happening when a person awakens more positive emotions, the spiral of the DNA opens up a little bit more and it starts emanating more light particles that just happens to have healing effects on the whole environment, which is your blood, your cells, protein production, and all of that. So then the question only is, how much time we allow ourselves to waste in just reacting to life before we decide to become creators once again and get back into a state where we slow down a little bit and disconnect from these reactive mechanisms and become more objective. And this is meditation. You don't need to sit down and pray and do something. You can just slow down and recognize, okay, once again I've fallen back into a program. And you can, do it right now. You can recognize, oh, have I been reacting once again? Have I been doing just things out of a habit? Like turning on the phone. I've been, distracted by things. And when you slow down, you pay more attention to what's happening within you. Carl Jung said, when you're afraid of feeling, you will start jumping. So people often become impulsive when they are afraid to feel something. But we are not truly afraid of feeling it. We are afraid of the unpleasant sensation that the feeling provides to us, right? So we are kind of avoiding the unpleasant, and unpleasant is unfamiliar. And often this unpleasant leads us to more negative behaviors and negative habits. So we kind of connect unpleasant with negative habits, which is a completely wrong approach, because as soon as we pay attention to something unpleasant, we can resolve it. If you pay attention to a fear, to an anger, to whatever, you recognize there's a whole pattern that happens after feeling something into doing something. And you can only break this pattern if you recognize, okay, every time I feel this way, I don't need to react how I used to react anymore. I can do something more constructively. Maybe your body just requires more pace. Maybe it requires more slow pace in your life. Maybe it requires more adventure and more laughter and more joy and more meaning. And you should provide it to you, right? To recognize that life is not just a dark story. It can be also quite a bright experience if you provide yourself something new, a new experience. And it doesn't need to be physical. It can be internal one firstly, like going within and reconnecting with whatever is below your personality. And to some of you it may feel quite challenging, so I've designed many guided meditations. You can find them on our Patreon community. Many people are meditating them and experiencing very interesting things. You can find them on YouTube. Like there's so much of it already available. The thing is just that we don't do it. Or we do it once and then we stop doing it. Even though we've experienced something positive, we just don't keep up with it because we maybe don't believe it works, even though it helped us in some way. Like, for example, when you start building something meaningful, why you keep up with it? Because you believe that it will turn into something big. And you keep working on it until it actually turns into something big. But it's not necessary that it will grow into what we see. Usually life will take us to all kinds of new directions, where at some point we actually build something completely else that we never truly imagined. And it becomes so much greater than what we thought it should happen for us. Like one example is when I started painting, I thought that I will be making a living out of doing art the way that I will be selling my art and original paintings. And that's how I will make money with it. But then it led me to YouTube and start making content, and it led me to so much growth. And that growth also made me more valuable. And then people started asking me like, would you offer some coaching? Like, I would love to learn from you more about this and that and that. And, you know, it took over. And then of course, people wanted to buy art and they wanted to support all these missions. So everything kind of connected, but it never happened the way I imagined. It went into a direction I imagined, but then it turned out to be something completely else. And this is the mystery. We never truly allow ourselves to kind of believe that it's possible until we truly put all of ourselves into a path that's unprepared, unpaved, and quite unknown. We can't fully know what it is, but we feel curious. We kind of feel guided to walk it and to experience what's kind of meant for us. You can't do that if you're just looking around and jumping from one content to another, and from one book to another, from one, video to another. You kind of need to leave these things behind. Albert Einstein once said, there comes a time in your life when you stop reading books and you write your own one. Maybe you are at that phase of your life right now. I feel like I am constantly evolving, right? So ask yourself, what if it's the time for you to write your own book, to start your own art, to build your own business, to free yourself from this, whatever is limiting you, and just see what if maybe it's your time right now. I will leave you here. Think about this a little bit. I'm sending you lots of love, blessings, and power. I hope you've enjoyed in today's video. And thanks to everyone for choosing to support my art. With that, you're supporting this mission, and I truly appreciate all of you. You can find it on the link in the description, AttractPassion.com, or Etsy store, AttractPassion. My friends, you're all very, very appreciated. And also thanks to everyone for joining our Patreon community for more exclusive content. I love you all, and till next time, one love.